The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, he'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Hambleton, North Yorkshire again, people. Now, we've driven a long way from yesterday's episode in Shipton, which is close to York. Now we're firmly on the road towards Thirsk and Easingwold. Now, this place is surrounded by a swathe of farmland, and we've driven across that and through a village called Sutton-on-the-Forest. That's for another time. This is its neighbour. It's called Huby. Huby Hillspur Farm. Today in Hambleton we come to another little village deep within the North Yorkshire countryside. This is Huby, about 9.5 miles north of York and 5 miles southeast of Easingwold. As villages go, this one's pretty delightful. Although not a lot is recorded about its history, Huby was most definitely here before its modern name came about. Huby means farmstead on a hill spur or a spur of land. It's a name which shows a mix of Old English and Old Scandinavian, tying in nicely with what we already know about the Viking presence in and around York. The Domesday Book recorded the village with two landowners, namely Sassford and Seward. The vast majority of Huby is laid out along one straight road between its pub, called the Mended Drum, and a large modern housing estate off the road to Stillington. 90% of the parish is actually lush green farmland, and Huby itself only occupies a small portion. Some of that land is known as Huby Common, and it's where there were, many moons ago, great open fields which the villagers farmed in strips. Seasonal rounds of communal farming would have fed the village back then. Huby has always been a village of farmers, but also many trades and activities. There have been forges, butchers, builders, garages, joiners, decorators, the list goes on and on. Whilst a lot of those have now disappeared and Huby has become mostly a residential village, it still retains a few things. Modern amenities include a small shop, a post office, a pub, a Methodist church, a sports ground complex, and a village hall. It may not be the most well known, but it's still a great little place. Let's go. Huby can be defined as a linear village. Most of its main bits lie on two roads, these being Main Street and Baston Lane, the latter of which we're on right here. The two meet each other at a junction with Bell Lane, which heads off southeastwards towards Sutton-on-the-Forest. First up we have the school, Huby C of E Primary, whose main building was constructed in 1967. This is a small, popular school where children are taught in one of 5 classes. All 5 of them are named after birds. These are robin, kingfisher, tawny owl, snowy owl and red kite. I'm assuming all of those are seen around the area quite frequently. There are 3 classrooms in the main building and a mobile classroom which houses the other 2. In addition, Huby School also features an open-air swimming pool. It also benefits from extensive playing fields, a wildlife garden and some fabulous outdoor play equipment. At this school, all new reception children are given a buddy who will guide and support them during their first few days. Those friendships often last for a very long time. Next up on the main junction we were just talking about is the one and only pub in Huby these days. This is called the Mended Drum. It was formerly known as the Star Inn. Known simply as the Drum to many locals, this was CAMRA's Pub of the Year for York and North Yorkshire in 2019. The pub has a rustic feel with beams, wooden panelling, exposed brickwork and displays of vintage crockery and prints, including works by L.S. Lowry. It has a dartboard, a pool table, outdoor seating and a TV, and is open from noon until late every day. It also holds beer festivals, including a unique 5 beers 3 ways event. The pub has a somewhat unique history, owing to the fact it shares a link to the famous author Terry Pratchett and his Discworld novels. The name, the Mended Drum, originates from them. In the novels, there's a pub called the Broken Drum, which was burned down and reopened as the Mended Drum. This pub obtained permission to use the name just before Pratchett died in 2015. The Mended Drum is totally Pratchett-themed inside, so that begs a question. Why? Pratchett was from Buckinghamshire after all. Well, the reason is because in Discworld, the hub is the central location on the spinning disc. It's a cold, mountainous region at the centre of the world, where the gods reside. In the Discworld compass, the hub is towards the north, with hubwards being one of the 4 cardinal directions. Can you see where this is going? All you need to do to get from hub to Huby is add a Y. The two share no other obvious link. Well, I don't know if there are any Discworld fans out there, but if there are, that's the place to go. It's a Terry Pratchett themed pub in the middle here of the village of Huby. Now, we've arrived onto the main street and everything else really in Huby is on this road. Let's kick things off with a chapel. Next on our list is the Methodist Chapel. This was built in 1894 and a schoolroom was added to the site in 1901. In 1982, the Methodist Chapel at Sutton-on-the-Forest was closed and was sold 2 years later in 1984. With the help of proceeds from that sale, work began in 1989 to renovate and modernise Huby's chapel to make it more suitable for modern-day requirements. In 1990, there was a celebration service when the building was filled to capacity. Since then, and with the closure of the Women's Institute Hall, the chapel has been used for many village activities. To get to the next thing, we have to leave Main Street briefly because the sports complex that Huby is proud to own occupies a huge tract of land to the west. This features a football pitch, the bowling club which is in one of the corners, and a small children's playground. The latter of those has been here since 2001. In that year, an old playground which stood here previously was condemned and bulldozed, so a committee was set up to try and raise the money for a new one. They did so admirably. Fundraising events to acquire the money for the new facility included a sponsored toddle, a fun run and a football match on the playing fields. Huby residents may well recall one of the members of the playing fields committee, Eddie Oliver, who lived in the village most of his life. An honorary member of the Huby and Sutton Agricultural Show Society, he was the longest serving member of the parish council, having served for over 40 years. Now, just before we go any further, we have a parish notice board here. Let's mark the parish of Huby off our Hambleton list. Job done. Okay, back to Main Street. Next we have the Huby and Sutton Community Shop. This has grown considerably over the last few years. It was originally based in the house behind this modern extension. This is the only shop in Huby these days. In times past, there used to be 4 shops and 3 pubs, as well as a Chippy, which was over the road from this. Let's have a look and see where that was. Simply named Huby Fisheries, this closed in 2023 after 33 years of serving the village and the surrounding area. It served Huby, Sutton-on-the-Forest, Stillington, Crake and Tollerton. Fish was freshly cooked to order, so you could always expect a short wait, but it was worth it. It was run by a couple called Ken and Sylvia Piercy, who were both born in the village and attended school together. Their families worked together too. Ken farmed all his life, but still managed to find time for his other love, sport. In 1972, he was appointed the chairman of Huby Playing Field Sports and Social Club. In 1986, he was given a Certificate of Merit for service to sport in Yorkshire and Humberside. Cricket was his game. A couple more steps up the street and we come to a former pub. This was the New Inn, which is still in business, but today it's a Chinese restaurant and a motel. 16th century in origin, the New Inn was cleverly refurbished in 2019 to accommodate the restaurant with seating for up to 60 people. It's retained its original bar, so as you enter the building today, you'd be forgiven for thinking you've walked into a traditional Yorkshire pub, serving fine ales, wines and spirit. Taking a look around, it soon becomes apparent that there are two plush eating areas serving delicious Cantonese food every evening of the week. Given the village setting and the inn's history, owners Mr. Lin and his wife Sally felt it appropriate to keep the name The New Inn, rather than renaming it to Lucky Dragon or something similar. Although there is a Chinese feel, the branding is subtle. It was achieved by adding some Chinese text here and there, instead of redesigning a brand new logo. Now, I like a Chinese as much as the next man, but I prefer a curry. If you live here in Huby, you've actually got the choice, because you can either go there for a Chinese, or you can go up the road to the next village where there's another pub that's been turned into a different restaurant, and there, that serves Indian meals. We'll see that one tomorrow. Huby's Village Hall appears next on the right-hand side. Officially, this is known as Huby Memorial Hall because it was built in memory of the men who gave their lives in the World Wars. Various clubs and societies meet here, and the hall is available for hire for private functions at a very reasonable £14 an hour. The Village Hall Committee meet here regularly to discuss and agree the running of the building for the benefit of every Huby resident, or Hubyite, to give them their alternative name. Now, this building is nice enough and it's interesting, but it's not as important as what it stands in front of. Look on OS maps from 1900 and you may notice something about the land behind this. It says on the map, Chapel Garth, site of a church. That's absolutely right. Huby has no Anglican church today, but it used to. The main parish church is at Sutton, and Huby once had a chapel of ease to it, located off Main Street behind this village hall. Nobody seems to know its dedication, but the chapel's history can be traced back to the Middle Ages. The exact date of its construction is not precisely known. Some remnants of the Chapel of Ease still exist, such as an old font which is retained within the garden of one of the village's properties. Keeping with the religious theme, on the other side of the road is the old chapel which was used by the Huby Women's Institute, and of course it's now closed. There's definitely a certain togetherness about this community here in Huby. People have been walking around as I've been filming this main street, all saying hello to each other and, happy smiles and that kind of thing. It seems to be the kind of village where everybody knows everybody, and that's the kind of village I like. Now, next thing is to talk a little bit about the street you can see behind me there. It's the name of the street that's interesting here. Off Main Street at the northern end of the village is Gracious Street. Its name is a reference to what happened to Huby when the plague came to town. In 1626, Robert Bossell from Huby brought goods from London which were thought to be infected. He sold them throughout the area, and so the disease quickly spread. His sales affected not just Huby, but also several other villages in the local area. He stood trial for this blatant disregard for public safety and eventually was given a hefty fine at York Assizes. However, Gracious Street was, apparently, the only street in Huby to escape infection. Tradition has it that the rest of the village was evacuated and people camped on meadows. Those meadows were called cabin lands, and they still have that name today. It's a story that stood the test of time in Huby, and so it shall for many more years. There's a notable house on Gracious Street. This cottage, which is Grade 2 listed, incorporates the remains of Huby Old Hall. It's originally mid-17th century with some 18th century bits thrown in. It was the former home of William Wakefield, the architect of Duncan Park. So just after Gracious Street, you've got what I would define as maybe a village green. It's not a definite green, I don't think. It's just a patch of greenery on the end of Stillington Road. Everything you've seen so far has been within the old core. Well, now this area here, this is all newer. We'll walk around this to finish. So to the housing estate at the northern end of Huby. Most of this sits on an old sandpit, hence the name Sand Lane, which flanks its western edge. These residences account for well over half of Huby's modern population, and the fact they're located at the northern end of the village away from the old historic core is really good. It helps to preserve the character and charm of the old village while still allowing Huby a decent sized community, making use of all the facilities that we've just seen. As we walk around this area, let's throw in a couple more facts about Huby before we make our way back to the start. Huby was one of 40 villages in the Forest of Galtres. It was a royal hunting forest founded sometime after 1066. Forest law was very important. Huby was one of 3 places where forest courts were held. The other 2 were Easingwold and York. Galtres was disafforested in 1630, and now not much remains of it in Huby. Most of the houses on Main Street were rebuilt about 250 years ago. A lot were thatched at one time, but as that went out of fashion, brick and pan tile took over. Farming was always king in Huby. A lot of the land that surrounds the village was farmed in strips. Seasonal rounds of communal farming would have fed the village at one time. The 3 great fields on which those strips were located were enclosed in 1841, as was the land in front of the houses on Main Street. And Huby also used to erect a maypole at the junction at the southern end of the village. I don't know whether it still does that, but I saw no evidence of a maypole here on this visit. Within living memory, a Union Jack was flown at half-mast on it whenever a notable Hubyite died. I'd like to think that wasn't a common occurrence, but it's a nice touch nonetheless. What a beautiful village this is, Huby. It's fantastic, isn't it? I can see why so many people like to live here. The community spirit here is fantastic. The houses are beautiful, the history is awesome, and you know what? It's just pure Yorkshire through and through. That will do us for Huby. Time to move on again to a village of a similar size to Huby that's just up the road. In the next one, we'll be in a place that resembles somewhere in the East Riding. At least, that's what I reckon it looked like. Join me tomorrow, and let's see if you agree. just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.